Hello, everyone. Um, I'll be honest, I keep trying to do videos that are more professional, more, um, how do I say this? More polished. And that's really not who I am. I guess I'm just not a very polished kind of guy. I have to admit that I'm just a very simple person. My wife calls me dumb and honest, which, fine, I'll take that. I'm not really sure. Not really sure if that's a compliment or an insult. Oh, what's the great line from Total Drama? It's a complisult. It's a compliment and an insult at the same time. My people have this. It's called a complisult. So, I am basically just a simple, ordinary, nice guy. I do not lie. I do not cheat. I do not steal. Um, and the reason I'm putting this video together is because I am trying to find the best way to introduce the People's Petrol token in a way that gives people a certain amount of confidence. Um, so I guess I'm just going to jump in and try and explain. Now, we all know that we are basically being ripped off by the big oil companies. Okay. It costs them so much to make something. Now, what I've done is I've done my research, and within the United States of America, if you got the oil from a well within the US and then you transported it using American transport, right? Paying American wages in an American oil tanker. Let's just assume you had to do that. Okay, let's assume you had to use transport within the United States to get it to a refinery, and the refinery was owned and operated within the United States because there are quite a few. And then you had the American refinery process the crude oil into gasoline, kerosene, diesel, because that's what you end up getting as final products. And then by the time you've transported it to the gas station in the United States, the cost per gallon of gasoline is somewhere between $2.40 and $2.70. Okay, so we're just going to call that 250. Now, I just looked it up yesterday what the current average price of gasoline is in both the United States and in the state of California. In the United States, gasoline average is $3.60, which amazingly means that somewhere it's actually cheap, like $3.10, because in California, it's $4.78. So if you think about the fact that it's about $2.50 to make that gallon of gasoline, and you're able to sell it anywhere within the United States for at least $3.60, you're looking at a minimum $1 to $1.10 profit per gallon of gas. And there are millions of gallons of gasoline sold across the United States on a daily basis. There's 330 million Americans, many of whom own cars, motorcycles, etc. So we're talking about, and that's not even counting diesel. I was just looking at gasoline. So the oil companies are taking a product which costs them X, right? And they're charging X plus 40%, all the way up to roughly X plus 100%, because if you're talking about $4.78 in California, and it costs $2.50, that's a dollar, what is that? I can't do math. $2.30 profit, or $2.20 or so. per gallon? Wow, that's a huge profit. Okay, so that's nearly 100%. Call that 80%. So you're making between 40% and 80% profit on every single gallon of gasoline that you're selling in the United States. And this is true profit we're talking about here. I'm talking about, oh, I have to turn that because I can see my daughter's computer cycling in the background, and that's going to make everyone, that's going to distract everyone. This computer over here, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to turn that off. Hang on a sec. Hi, everybody. Okay, sorry about that. As you can see, the computer is now off. It's now black. Because I know that I have this, I know that my eyes would be drawn to something in the background that kept flashing. So you wouldn't be paying attention to me, you'd be paying attention to that. So, so we know that the oil companies in the United States have been doing very, very well. All right, they've been doing very well for ages. Since the 1920s, oil companies have been probably some of the most profitable companies in the world. And what has happened recently is that um, the, the the issues that have been going on in the world, the pandemic, the um, the issues with the supply chain, the issues with basically OPEC and everyone within OPEC, basically trying to keep their prices as high as they can. They are an oligarchy after all, and I'll get back to that in a second. And the war in Ukraine, the oil companies have effectively used every one of those, and I'm going to be honest here, excuses to raise prices in gasoline. The they are excuses. They're all excuses. They're not legitimate reasons. The all of these things have a tiny, tiny effect. The price of gasoline should not have just suddenly shot up the way it did. It should have possibly risen a little bit, but that's all. And instead, the oil companies basically took an opportunity to make additional profits on top of the fact that they normally are making, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% profits annually. And that really hurts the people. The my joke is that the oil companies have us over a barrel, right? Okay, oil joke, barrel, get it? Yeah, okay, sorry, dad joke. But they really do. They literally have us in a circumstance in which they are looking at us as the consumer and saying, you need this product to be able to survive in the modern world. You must have gasoline. In the United States today, at least 90% of all the cars on the road are gasoline or diesel powered. There is a 10% or so electric vehicle percentage. But that's a very small piece of the pie, and that's growing very slowly. The year is 2023. I do not expect electric vehicles to hold more than 50% of everything 2035 to 2050. So when we're talking about 50% electric vehicles in the United States, more than likely that's not going to occur for at least 15 to 25 years. And then on top of that, okay, um, the world is not going to get into electric vehicles until 2075, 2100. The entire world not using, how do I say this? uh, gasoline powered or diesel powered vehicles. That's not going to happen until 2100. So there is a business opportunity out there to do something crazy. And what I am proposing is to create an oil company that acts almost as a nonprofit, almost, to cap profits at 10%. Okay? So breaking into the oil and gas business in the United States is effectively a question of money, and that's why the People's Petrol token has been created as a fundraiser, effectively, as a means of raising funds to be able to break into this. But it's actually not as hard as I thought it would be. And I'll explain that in a moment as well. So I guess I should give you a brief overview of what's going to happen. So first thing we need is money, right? And all, well, there's many different ways to get money. You can do a GoFundMe page. That's not going to help very much. But what I'm saying is that one of the modern ways of getting money is to do cryptocurrency. In the old days, it was basically find investors, go to the banks, and say, "This is my idea. Lend me money." And the banks would sit there and say, "Well, maybe, maybe not." And more often, they would be no. Um, but what I'm talking about is we're going to do it the cryptocurrency way. So back on March 11th, I created the People's Petrol token. It is a brand new, very simple cryptocurrency. There's no gimmicks, there's nothing weird about it, there's nothing odd about it. It's basically just an old-fashioned cryptocurrency. Um, that is, you buy the cryptocurrency, and as more and more people buy, the price goes up. Okay. Now, what I'm trying to get people to understand is that it is a long-term investment. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So the People's Petrol token is about buying and investing, and basically just at this point, I'm saying because the price is so very, very low, right? Um, it, for $50 American or so, you can buy about 10 billion coins. The total supply is 888 billion coins. That's what I created. For only $50 American at this point, you get about 10 billion coins. As time goes by, that $50 American will buy you only 8 billion coins, and then it will buy you only 5 billion coins as the price goes up. Um, the idea is that if you're looking at it from a crypto point of view, it's a good investment because it's already gone up like 4 or 5 times in value. And that's from March 11th. And the day I'm putting this out is the 18th of June. Excuse my squeaky chair. So it's gone up like 4.5 times in the last, oh, I don't know, I can't do math, month and a half, 2 months. So more than 2 months. Uh, has it been 3 months already? Oh my goodness, it's been more than 3 months that the cryptocurrency's been available. Wow. Very, very few people have purchased. A few, maybe. I think the total number of wallet holders is like 18 people. 18 people, 18 wallets. I don't know who that is or where they are. Um, but so as far as the crypto is concerned, the crypto coin is normal. It's all totally available on my website. Go to the white paper on my website and take a look at that because it has the full details. You can go and you can interrogate the code. You can look at the code. It's just I haven't made any changes. It's a normal old-fashioned cryptocurrency. You can buy it, you can sell it. The point is, as an investment, if that's what you're thinking about, it's a good investment because at this point, it's still ridiculously cheap. I haven't really officially advertised yet. I'm working with a couple different companies. It turns out there are companies out there that handle social media advertising, and they can help you create. Oh my God, that was quick, 15 minutes. Um, they can help you create a social media blitz across multiple platforms. Hey, there's this new cryptocurrency. Go check it out, right? So I'm saving up money for that. Everything costs money, and on the website, everything will be listed. This is just the cryptocurrency part. This is just the beginning. This is just the getting the money side. So the ultimate goal is making this oil company in the United States, which is focused on or limiting itself to 10% profit. So let's just assume that things go well. Okay, the cryptocurrency goes well. Um, in the first year, I raise $1 million. Over the next few years, I raise, well, I don't want to do the first few years. I'm going to do whatever I can with that first $1 million, okay? And this is what I'm going to do. And hopefully, it's going to become $5 million and $10 million because I'm going to need the money. But let me explain first. Now, um, I hope you've been to the website. Please go to the website. It's very detailed. It explains things better than I can. Um, the oil exploration and oil extraction in the United States is very interesting. 25% of all the oil that is extracted within the United States of America is on federal land. Okay? The United States, on every quarter, every 2 quarters, so in other words, every 3 months, every 6 months, sells leases to extract that oil. So let's say, for example, there's a large area that's known for having oil under the ground, say Pennsylvania or Texas, or the other day it was Kansas and New Mexico. These are areas that are known for having oil under the ground. The government doesn't guarantee that your sinking a well is going to lead to oil, but these are basically massive oil pools that are known to be under the ground in these areas. Otherwise, they wouldn't be selling them. So there are these leases that the government offers. It's federal land, and the government says, okay, we will allow you to purchase a 10-year lease. You have to pay this much up front for the we have to bid on the lease. The minimum amount is $10 per acre. Okay? So you have to pay for that. Then there's a few administrative fees. And then you own that lease for the next 10 years. For the first year or two, you have to pay a lease. The actual lease is $2 per acre. Okay, so purchasing the lease costs $10 per acre minimum, because remember, it's a bidding process, 10, 12, 15, whatever. Whoever eventually wins, that's what they pay. But then the government says that you must pay for the first 2 years, you must pay $2 per acre. For the next several years, it gets higher and higher and higher. By the time you're in like the last 2 years of the 10-year lease, you're paying like $15 per acre. But the assumption is that by the time you're in the ninth or 10th year, you're extracting oil and you're making a really good profit. So you can afford the $10, $15, sorry, more like $15 per acre that you're paying. Okay? So the land is useful to you by that time. So here's what we're going to do. So I've looked into this. I've done a lot of research on all this. There are many companies, not many, maybe 20, 25 in the United States of America that do this. They are oil drilling companies, they are oil extraction companies, they are private companies um, that specialize in this, and we are going to make use of them. But here's my vision, okay? Here's what I want to see happen. We take the money from the people's petrol token, which is crypto, and we bring it over into the real world. We buy one of those leases at least, probably more like 3 to 5 leases. Now, we probably, if we have the money for it, the easiest and simplest way is to hire one of those outside companies to go in and do the exploration for us. Okay? If we can, well, not if we can, it's basically just a question of money. So it's definitely doable. So they go in, they sink a test well, they go down 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet, however, whatever the test well depth is going to be. They come back and they say, yes, we found oil, we found natural gas. We don't know how much, but we found this. Cap it. Stop the well. All right. Then we negotiate with either them as our extraction team, or depending upon how much money we have in the bank, we create our own team. We buy our own equipment or we lease our own equipment, and we hire maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 professionals and say, okay, guys, you want to be in at the very bottom level of a brand new oil company. There's your oil well. All right. It's been capped. We know that there's oil there. Go do what you do. And they go in and they start the well up again. They start pumping oil, and we basically start selling it. We sell it on the open market initially. Okay. The current price for crude oil is about $72 per barrel. Now, the average pumping that occurs in the United States of America is about 200 barrels per day. Okay, so 50%, not, this is all the stuff that I have to do the research on. So 50% of all the wells in the United States are 200 barrels and below. 50% of all the wells in the United States are 200 barrels and above. So the 50% mark, so basically the median, is about 200 barrels per day. So we will shoot for 200 barrels per day, okay? And I cannot do math to save my life. So let's assume we get 200 barrels a day times 70, call it $72. So it's roughly 14,000. I knew that. I totally knew that. I knew that. So we're making around $14,000 a day. Now, there's going to be wages, there's going to be other things. It's not going to be cheap. Lord knows how much it's going to cost to operate per day. We're going to keep those costs as low as possible. Remember, at this stage, all we're doing is we're not even getting into the point where we're like, oh, 10% profit on our gasoline. No, we can't afford that yet. That requires money. And again, we're not there yet. Maybe we will sell shares. I don't want to do that. Maybe we will become a publicly traded company in the United States. Maybe we will go on NASDAQ and we will sit there and say, look, this is who we are. We are now pumping, and here's the proof, right? This is how we're doing. We're doing great. We're making this much money per day. We want to expand to having not just one well. We want to expand to having 10 wells. We want to be pumping 10 wells. Let's assume 8 are working. So 8 times 14,000. So we do times 8, $115,000 per day. Not bad. Hey, hey, nice. That'll work. But let's assume that we can pull that off, right? Let's assume that we get 10 wells. 8 of them are currently producing, 2 of them are down for whatever reason. That's the way the world always works. And we're making roughly $100,000 per day. Now, obviously, there are going to be significant expenses, etc. So maybe we're able to put $20,000, $40,000 per day into the bank. That's a huge profit. That's doing great. Remember, at this point, all we're doing is we're taking oil out of the ground and we're turning around and we're selling it on the open market, $72 per barrel. If we do this, okay, we are going to be able to put money into the bank. And what we will try to do is, in the long run, cease relying on outsiders. Obviously, anytime you use an outside company, the outside company is going to jack up its prices because they want to make a profit. So if it costs them $10,000 a day to run the drilling rig, they're going to come to us and they're going to try and charge us $15,000 a day because they want to make their profit, right? And I understand that. There's no problem with that. But at, what we want is we want all the workers on the oil rig, okay? The oil derrick, I suppose is the right word, but I'm just going to keep calling it a rig. On the oil well, to be our employees directly. Because our employees, if they're our employees, they're, and forgive me, they're cheaper, right? Yes, I have to pay for healthcare and insurance and all these other things, yes. But in the long run, it's a lot cheaper to have your own employees than it is to use outsiders. Likewise, the equipment. If we purchase the drilling machinery as compared to be leasing it from someone else, again, that's significantly cheaper. So once we own all that, that will increase the profits we make on a daily, monthly, weekly basis for each of our oil wells. As each oil well shifts away from using privatized people who are helping us, and we are slowly moving towards our own operations with our own equipment and our own personnel, the price will go down, the profits will go up. What we need in the long run is 10, let's say 10 oil wells producing a decent amount of oil that we can sell on a daily basis, and all of those oil wells being with our leases, with our equipment, and our personnel. All right? We take care of our own staff, we take care of our own equipment, we do the right thing, and we make a good profit. All the employees get bonuses, which are basically 1% of overall operating expenses. And I'll get to this in a second. This is the 10% profit thing. Now remember, oh, sorry, I didn't mention this. Okay. Going back to the People's Petrol token for a second. The people who invest in the People's Petrol token now, right, June, July of 2023, let's say a year from now, 2 years from now, we're actually pumping. We're making some money. It's my intention that any profits we make, 10% of those profits will be put back into the People's Petrol token as purchases. So the thing about crypto is the price basically rises based upon how much is being purchased. So if you take 10% of the profits and then you reinvest that back into the People's Petrol token, the People's Petrol token value is going to rise, which means that everyone who helps now, by buying the People's Petrol token now, the company in the real world is going to use part of its profits to reward you. Okay? You had the faith in the long-term prospect of creating an ethical oil solution company, EOS, right? This is my dream. This is the dawn, right? The dawning of a new age. Why does it sound like the age of Aquarius? But the idea is that we're going to be creating an ethical oil solutions company. So EOS, E-O-S, which is Greek for dawn. And we are going to create an oil company that we've all been talking about, okay? So it's at this point, we've got the money from the People's Petrol token. We're getting money now from the oil wells. We're running them carefully. We're running them cleanly. We're being very good about the environmental impact. And we're giving money back to the People's Petrol token, 10% of our profits, to reward everyone who purchased the People's Petrol token initially. So everyone who buys now in June and July of 2023, when we're talking about June and July of 2025, you're finally starting to see a price. Between now and then, I fully expect it to go up at least 10 times. At least 10 times. But that's even before we start this idea of using 10% of the oil company's profits to help push up the price of the People's Petrol token. PPT, People's Petrol token. When we start actually bringing that money in from the real world, right, from profits being made, PPT is going to spike. It is going to absolutely jump. And as long as the oil company's doing well, People's Petrol token is going to be doing well because we will be monthly, weekly, daily, I don't know, putting back a little bit of money from the real world into the crypto world, saying to all our investors, thank you, repaying them. Okay? So like I said, 10%. I honestly, by the time we're in 2025 and we're actually making profit on oil sales, I'm on. I do not think that 100%, 100 times would be unreasonable. Okay, there are only 19 holders of the People's Petrol token right now, 3 of which are just not even real, because those are like dead wallets or something. I don't know. Those are like test wallets. So say 16 holders out there, yet the price has gone up 4.5 times already. It's only 16 holders. What happens when we're at 30? What happens when we're at 50? What happens when we're at 500 holders of the People's Petrol token? And that's easy. That can be accomplished in a month. Imagine the spike it's going to make just over the next year. And that's before profits from the real world start being funneled back in on it. I'll try to make it a daily basis so it's nice and steady. I want this. I don't like that. Okay, because every time you do one of these in the crypto world, it's followed by one of those, right? So there's usually a massive spike and a massive drop off a cliff because everybody takes their profits. That's not what I want. I want everyone to slowly, as the People's Petrol token price increases over time, everyone, sure, take your 10% profit, right? Hey, cool, look at how much money I've made. I'm going to take out 10%. Just take out 10%, and that's the best way of doing things. So I'm being distracted by my wife calling for the cat. So what else are we talking about? So that's the stage we were at. So we're in the United States. We're running an oil company. I'm working on that right now. I'm trying to get incorporated in Delaware because Delaware, it turns out, has some really, really good laws. Everybody incorporates in Delaware. I didn't understand why until I've looked into it. They're very good laws for the company. I know there's also some tax benefits to incorporating your company in Delaware in the United States. So I'm working on that. It'll take a while. So remember, this is June 18th of 2023. This will take a while. So, where were we? So we're in the United States. We've got 10 oil wells. They're pumping. We're making a profit. We're putting money in the bank. We're slowly shifting from using outside companies to having our own guys run everything, our own staff and our own equipment. Once we've got enough money, all right, then we need to sit there and start thinking about the next big step, which is, and this is a big step, this is a multi-million dollar step, $100 million at least, buying and refurbishing an old refinery in the United States, or I don't even know if this is possible. I'm sure. The funny thing about life is that if you have money, anything's possible. Building a brand new oil refinery. I'm in favor both. Okay. It may be easiest, it may be quickest to simply purchase an old refinery which is sitting idle somewhere, um, and then fixing it up and getting it back into service again. I just think that an oil refinery that was built in the 1940s or 1950s is not going to be particularly efficient. Whereas a brand new oil refinery that we build, um, that is going to be that's going to be a lot more efficient, and it's going to be cleaner, which is also important to me. I'm not a tree hugger, but I am a bit of a greenie. I don't wish this company to do the wrong thing. Okay, I want this company to do well, and I want it to be environmentally friendly. Okay, so if we move on to that next stage, okay, we've gone from just having 10 wells and making a profit, which is great. As a company, we're doing great, fine. We're going to take some of that money, most of that money that's in the bank, and we're going to invest it in our own refinery. And we are going to start, once the refinery is built, and that may take years. Once the refinery is built, we're going to be taking, say, 50% of all the oil that we are getting from the ground, and we're going to be putting that 50% through the refinery, our refinery, and we are going to be making gasoline, diesel, kerosene, like I said before, all the things that get made by a refinery. Now, the profits we make by selling crude oil are good, but the profits you make by selling gasoline, if you were to sell that at the current market price or the market price 2 to 3 years from now, well, more than that, say 5 years from now, is going to be insane, okay? Because the oil and gas companies aren't going to stop continuing to push up the prices of oil and gasoline because, like I said, they know that the average consumer, normal people like you and me, um, we have no alternative. There's no one else to go to. You can't just whip up gasoline in your backyard. It's impossible. So they know that they've got us, you know, we're basically hostages to big oil, which offends me. I don't like that. They have effectively a monopoly. Not just one oil company, but all the oil companies working together have a monopoly and they get to set the prices. But, and here's the interesting bit, once we've achieved the ability to have our own refinery, we find or we build a big gas station, someplace outside of a city, someplace large enough that it can accommodate long lines, it can have, or it can expand. Maybe we'll start off with 8 pumps, and then we'll double it to 16 pumps. We'll build a second gas station right next to it, or we'll just, expand it. And then more, right? We own all that land. And what we're doing is we are selling gasoline at 10% profit. Now, in terms of today's prices, what that would mean is, remember, we talked about the fact that it costs about $2.50 to create a gallon of gasoline. I'm so old that I remember gasoline being less than $1 a gallon in the United States when I was a kid. We're never going to be able to bring back those days. But if we could make it so that at only 10% profit, $2.50 is 25 cents, that's 10%, right? Add that on top of the $2.50, it becomes $2.75 per gallon. I can't promise that price. I want that to be the price, okay? But I can't promise that. But that's what we're aiming for, something like that. Something in which, yeah, we're making our 10% profit, but that's it, okay? Oh, and also, it's not just 10%. I have to be honest about this. It's not just 10% of the cost of manufacturing the gasoline. It's 10% of the cost of manufacturing the gasoline and running the company, okay? So we can't just look at it from the point of view of, well, it costs $2.50. Let's just add 25%. Sorry, 10%, 25 cents. Take it to $2.75 and we're good. If the cost of the overall running the entire company is not taken into account, sure, great. We're meeting our goal of selling gasoline at 10% above the cost of manufacturing the gasoline. But what about the other costs that are associated with running the company? That's not directly involved in producing the gasoline. You see the problem? If we're not including those things as well, and that's a small percentage, but if we're not including that as well, we're basically dooming the company. The company will fail. So we have to look at the whole picture. So let me put it this way. What we will do is, like I said, we'll only use 50% of the oil that comes out of the ground. 50% of the oil that comes out of the ground we will still continue to sell on the open market. That will provide us with a cushion so that we can meet our obligation, or our moral obligation, to keep our promise of gasoline plus 10%. Okay? And that means significantly cheaper gasoline for everybody in the United States. And fine, I accept that this is a dead-end industry in the sense that 50 years from now, we'll probably be out of business. So 2075, there won't be that many gas cars in the United States. We'll still be able to sell gas internationally. There will still be plenty of countries around the world that are still running oil and gas, um, gas and diesel vehicles. But the United States, as the environmental leader, will be almost completely electric vehicles at that point. There will still be plenty of uses for oil and for gasoline and diesel, but maybe not within the United States. So at that point, we'll have to shift to an international market. But for the next 50 years, all right, in the United States, we will be having a company that runs this way, okay? And it will be selling gasoline and diesel to an American market, but we'll be doing it cheaply, deliberately cheaply, okay? We are doing this to help the American consumer, the ordinary guy like you and me. I'm just an ordinary guy. Maybe 2 years from now, I might be able to sit there and say, hey, look, I'm the CEO of a company. So what? What does that matter? I'm not going to change. I'm still going to wear boots and jeans. I'm still going to be wearing my comfy, silly clothing. I'm not going to be some guy in a suit and tie. That's not my style. It's not who I am. So, okay. There's some important things. That's the basic idea, okay? We own everything from the oil well. Eventually, we own everything from the oil well to the gas station, and we own the gas station. We own the oil well. We own the lease on the land. The staff are our own staff. The equipment is our own equipment. We've purchased it. We own everything, including the oil tankers that we use to transport crude oil to our refinery, and from our refinery, the tankers take refined gasoline and diesel to our gas stations. So if we own every part of the supply chain, we get to keep prices as low as humanly possible. Okay, that's important. That's where a lot of the savings will come from. I'm trying to figure this out. You get my drift, okay? One of the other things that I wanted to say was profits. Okay, so of the 10% profit that we're making, or whatever profits we're making over in the selling the raw crude oil side, um, we have some rules. Number one, 10% of any profits made goes back to the employees. Those are bonuses, those are whatever. Okay, call them what you like. Um, I don't know, employee reward program. I don't care. 10% of our profits go back to our employees. Why? Because they're the ones doing the work. They're the ones who deserve to be rewarded. 10% of our profits are used to purchase people's petrol token, as we promised, right? Because remember, that's to reward the people who bought the people petrol token now in 2023, who in 2025, 2027 are actually, wealthy, able to retire from a 4-year investment. I can't promise that. That's really what I want to give you guys. Okay, if you're looking at this going, oh, people's petrol token, oh, just buy your $100 or your $50 and just forget about it. Just leave it alone. Come back 4 years from now and say, wow, that was a good investment. I wish I'd spent more. I honestly want you to do that. I want that to be the situation 4 years from now, 5 years from now. But let's talk about this for a second. So 10% goes to people's petrol token, right? 10% goes to the employees. That's another 10% goes to charities that are nominated by our employees. Okay, if you are a worthwhile charity and the company's staff sit there and say, "Oh, I want you to, will you please help this charity? My son's school needs a new library or new books for the library, or my daughter's college it would be great if we could get a few scholarships or whatever." I mean, if we're talking about the kind of company we'll be talking about in the future here, in which we're making hundreds of millions of dollars per annum, per year in profits, that's not an insignificant amount when we're talking about 10% of the profits being used for people's petrol token buybacks, 10% being used for charities, and 10% going to the employees. Remember, we could be making hundreds of millions of dollars with only 100 or 200 employees at this point. Think about that. Okay, all right. So let's say we're making $100 million. I can't do math, but that means 10% of that is $10 million. $10 million. Divided by 200 employees. Oh my God, that's $50,000 each. Oh my God. Um, that's one heck of a bonus. I really don't think it's gonna be like that, but it might be. Um, wow. Okay, good. Employees deserve it. They're the ones doing the work. They're the ones making the profits for the rest of us. They deserve their $50,000 each. Okay, again, can't promise that. I want it. All right. If we're making $100,000 profit, $100 million profit per annum per year, a $50,000 bonus would be really nice. I think that would be earned. I think that would be deserved. Okay. And people like me don't get them. I don't get that. I'm going to be paying myself a salary. Okay. And it will be a good salary. It will not be a crazy salary, but it will be a good salary. I have never made more than $100,000 per year in my entire life. When we get this thing running, I would like to give myself somewhere between 250,000 to maybe, if we're doing really, really well, I might give myself $500,000 a year as salary. Highly doubt it. When am I ever going to make that kind of money? But if it's my company and I'm the one who's created it and I'm the owner, then maybe we'll see. Okay. Um, and this part of the video, you can show me 5 years from now. Hey, Mark, you said you were never going to make more than $500,000. Oop, you got me. I tried to give myself $1 million. My bad. Nope, not going to do it. 500,000. If my if my if my wife and kids can't survive on $500,000 a year, we're in big trouble. Okay, the American dollar, $500,000 a year. That's a lot of money. Okay, I'm a firm believer in the United States. I believe that the United States is going to it's going to get over these political issues and it's going to continue as an economic powerhouse. The basis, the strengths of the United States of America are still there. Okay, we're going to do fine. Nevertheless, um, so like I said, 10% um, goes to charities, 10% is used to buy back People's Petrol token, push up the price of People's Petrol token so everybody gets rewarded, and 10% is employee bonuses. That's the way I want to run this. That means that that's 10%, 10%, 10%. That's 30% of all profits we make are being effectively recycled in some way that is not pure profit, and 70% of the profits goes into the bank as more or less pure profit. We will invest in things like clean energy solutions. We'll invest in things so that over the next 50 years, as the company evolves, as my children and grandchildren run the company, they will be moving further and further away from oil and further into the next generation of what is going to be energy production. Because human beings are always going to need energy. We are always going to need that. Um, and that energy production can and should be as clean as humanly possible. Um, what else to tell you guys? That's my dream, okay? So, quick and dirty, here's the recap. You can probably stop at this point if you've sat through the entire thing for 52 minutes. I'm really proud of you. Thank you very much. Here's the recap. At this stage, June 18th, 2023, People's Petrol Token exists. It has yet to be advertised. I'm going to do that very shortly. So if you're watching this and it's only a few days after the 18th of June 2023, you're still in a great position to buy your $50 or $100 of the People's Petrol Token and put those 10 billion coins aside. Okay? That's going to make you a very wealthy individual within the next 5 years. Okay? I'm not a scammer, I'm not a liar. The idea of what we're trying to do here is to create a long-term company. This is hard in some ways because there are lots of rules and regulations. But if you have the money, you can hire the professionals who know how to navigate the channels of bureaucracy. They know how to make the right filings here and there, and they know how to pay the taxes properly. They know how to hire the employees and make sure that the employees get the right levels of health insurance and all the other things. There are people out there who will happily take our money to be able to provide us with that service. That's what's going to happen. We're going to do that. And as we create, so the next things are we sell the People's Petrol Token. We slowly accumulate money. Some of you who are just watching this are going to do the wrong thing and you're going to take your profit when the People's Petrol Token goes up 10 times. I put in $50. I'm getting back $500. You're an idiot. Congratulations on making your $500. All right. But you know what? If you left it alone for 5 years, how would you like to get back $500,000? Because the People's Petrol Token is going to increase in value more and more and more as the company succeeds. The People's Petrol Token will increase because we're using profits from the real world back into the crypto world to push up the price of the People's Petrol Token. Okay? Don't screw this up. Don't get out too early. Don't take your 10%, 10 times profit. Wait till it's 100. Wait till it's 1,000 times. Okay? what I'm trying to do is create something crazy, which is like buying Bitcoin. Do you know what Bitcoin originally cost? 9 cents. That's correct. 9 cents. Bitcoin, when it was first offered, was 9 cents. Let me see. We all know that Bitcoin has gone insanely at some point, right? So, nonetheless, I'm trying to create something similar to that. We are going to be running our own company in the United States using American workers, American equipment. Okay, we're going to be helping our country, um, and we will be making money. Yes, we will, but we'll be making a little bit of money on every sale of gasoline. And every American person who drives a car is going to be like, why does it cost $3.50? Why, in the future, why does it cost $4 a gallon when those guys over at the People's Petrol Token at the EOS gas station, right? Ethical Oil Solutions, EOS gas station, only cost me $3 a gallon. Yet EOS is doing just fine. We're making plenty of profit. We're making enough profit to stay in business. Okay? I I want to create something good that does something of value for the people of the United States and eventually of the world. I'm not sitting here saying that the big oil companies should not exist. They have their place. But in the small world that we're going to operate in, maybe eventually we'll be a $10 billion and then eventually we'll be a $100 billion company. That's not going to happen for years. But I'll give you an example. There currently is an oil producing company, one of the small ones, that made $1.5 billion profit in 2022. This is one of the small ones you've never heard of. Okay? I'm sorry, I don't know the name. I'll have to look it up. But the point is that yes, they did. The biggest of the small oil companies, I looked this up, $1.5 billion profit. And that's because they're selling just oil on the open market, crude oil that they're extracting from American wells and then selling on the open market. Obviously, this is a big one. It's probably got hundreds of wells, but we're going to have eventually 10, maybe more. This is doable. It is only a question of money. Everything is a question of money, and I suppose trust, because why, you know, also, I intend to throw my net incredibly wide, right, using the internet and social media, etc., as wide as I possibly can, and get as many people as I can invested at a small amount. Just give me $100 American. I don't want tons and tons of your money. Okay? What I want to, and there's a reason for that. Within the crypto world, you don't want to have people who are whales. Whales are people who own, say, 5% or 10% of the total supply of all the coins. That's bad. Those people have the ability to crash the price of the token if they suddenly sit there and say, "Well, that'll work. I've made my profit. I put in $5,000. I'm getting $50,000 back. I'm going to sell my 5%." Crash. That's when you get that spike that just ends in a cliff. We do not want to have that happen. So only invest $100. You're only going to be at this point about 1%. Okay, that's fine. A 1% person is not a whale. It's when you get to 2, 5, 10% that you're a whale, and that's dangerous. So that's why I'm saying big wide net, lots and lots and lots of investors, but everybody at a small amount. Now, I can't stop you from buying more. I can't stop you from throwing $10,000 into this and owning, at this point, a ridiculously large amount of the coins. I'd really rather that you didn't, okay, because I want this to be a success, and having whales endangers the project, okay? Sorry, I've gotten off topic. It's just about 1 hour, so I'm going to stop now. You get the idea. I'm an ordinary, nice, normal man who is doing this because he believes that there is a better way to do this. I believe that if we control everything, if we control the entire supply chain, if we control the production from the oil well to the gas pump, if we control everything in between, if we own everything in between, and we're using our own employees, who we will take care of, the potential exists for us to make a very good profit, but only at 10%. We can still succeed with only 10%. And that means that cheaper price for the consumer, the American gas purchaser, as compared to, and for us as well, we're still making a good profit. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Mark Turner. I didn't tell you this earlier, but I live in Sydney, Australia. I am an American. I'll explain the whole thing later. There's a video that says who I am. You can go look at that one. But thank you very much for taking your time to look at all of this. I appreciate that it was long. I tried to make it as clear as possible. If you have any questions, please ask. Enquiries at peoplespetroltoken.com or info@peoplespetroltoken.com. Either of those will work. The website is peoplespetroltoken.com. And when you're there, please go to there's a whole bunch of videos you can watch and stuff. But one of the things to go look at is the About page, which is the white paper. So you'll see a link to the white paper. The white paper is well, it's detailed. I wrote it. I've tried to make it as clear as I possibly can. So thank you very much for looking. Now, take your 50 bucks, $100, go to PancakeSwap, go to the website, copy the token address. It's the contract address. It's the thing that begins 0x and ends in like 25. You need to copy that. Go to PancakeSwap. You have to have some Binance coin, so BNB, right? So you have to buy it with BNB. And you take your BNB and you say, I want to swap BNB for People's Petrol token. And it says, and PancakeSwap will say, People's Petrol token, what's that? And you will put in a custom token. You don't have to type it in, paste in that contract address. It will say, oh, is this what you're talking about, PPT? And you say, yes, that's the right one. And PancakeSwap will probably still say, this token was added by a user. It wasn't added by an exchange, because I'm still working on all of that. If eventually it'll be totally legitimate, but right now it's going to sit there and say, hey, this was added by a user, da da da, do you trust it? And you're going to say yes, and then you'll be able to do the swap. Like I said, it's only please, only $50 or $100. I don't want a ton of your money. We want a slow and steady rise. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much. Put your 8 or 10 billion People's Petrol token coins in your wallet and forget about them. Just let me do my job. We will eventually have that company pretty soon, within the next 6 months, in the United States, and we will be talking about the next things. And I'll be constantly giving you videos about what's going on, updates. So thank you very much for looking. Oh my goodness, I've gone on to an hour and 5 minutes. Wow, you totally deserve. Thank you very much for putting up with all this for an entire hour and 5 minutes. Well done. Okay, I'm out of here. My name is Mark Turner. If you have any questions, that email address I gave you before, shoot me an email. Thank you very much for looking. Okay, take care. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.